And you can't even drive? I can. Are you stupid, eh? Are you a stupid fool? Well, why can't you drive then? You can't even drive! A bit grey today, isn't it?
Dore Funko! Terry Funko! Spinning to hold! Oh! Welcome, everybody, to The Deepest Law. It's a brand new year. How you doing, Mr. D?
I think I'm okay. I'm okay after that.
Funk brother, spinning to holder.
It reminds me a little bit of. Do you remember Banzai in like the 2000s? I feel like you should do a AA Gold on like a Banzai ripoff.
I might do something on Japanese wrestling one day, because it is an incredibly based world of rigid hierarchy, right? In which, both in terms of the kayfabe, but also in terms of the actual wrestlers themselves. So, in the hierarchy of the wrestlers, right? A higher guy would give nothing to a lower guy. So if I don't know, let's pretend you're a mid carder or a lower carder, and you try to I don't know, suplex Jumbo Tsuruta or something, he'd take your head off. You know, he'd literally kill you in the ring. You know, that is also part of it. So I quite like the hierarchy element, and also the strange thing about Americans being heels over there, the Gaijin wrestlers as they call them. But anyway, I have a new advert. It's the January sale, everybody. Do you want to have a watch of my new advert?
Oh.
Come
all
on.
right. It's all bloody Jordan Peterson again.
Well, you can get we can get Pharaoh's live analysis.
All right.
Of this. You know, as usual with these adverts, I'll probably only play them once fully through, and then we'll just get the first snippet of them for the rest of the month. So this is the live stream debut of my promo code SureJan.
Sure,
Jan.
Can you command a comma like Joseph Conrad?
Sure,
Jan.
Are you magnificent in your mastery of marginalism like Murray Rothbard?
Sure,
Jan.
Are you legendary in your logical leveling of lamentable loquacity?
Sure,
Jan.
Come on down to the January sale at the Academic Agency. Promo code SureJan for 25% off. All this January, I got more courses than the Queen had horses.
Jan.
I got better rates than Andrew Tate's had mates.
Jan.
I got better deals than Lizzo's had meals.
Sure.
Jan.
What do you reckon, Pharaoh?
That's pretty good. I think it's getting better each time. I mean, I've got more deals than Lizzo's had meals. That is actually a genuinely good copy line. I really like that. So, yeah.
I mean, you want to hear where I cut, Pharaoh?
Yeah, go on.
I got more beats than Jamie Theakston. Does anybody even remember who Jamie Theakston is?
Was he the cocaine guy? Was he?
He
Big
he
Breakfast,
presented he was like a kind of kids TV presenter in the mid 90s.
Yeah,
kind of a contemporary of Toby Anstis. He was kind of a little bit more adult. He did like Top of the Pops Junior and things like that.
Yeah, but didn't he have like a big scandal where it was like, or is that someone else?
Did Jamie Theakston have a scandal? Let me have a look.
or was he? Did he become like super bald? Was that the other thing? There was a reason why he sort of dropped off.
I got more beats than Jamie Theakston. Your face meet the dust when you mess with my friend.
I mean, it's no worse than Kanye West's rhymes.
I mean, it's better than Kanye West rhymes. I'm literate. I've got a fucking PhD in English. Kanye West can't spell. I'm having a look now to see. Jamie Theakston presented the Ozone, which was the kind of hip and trendy music show for youngsters.
Oh yeah. Oh. God.
There he is. Look, there he is with Zoe Ball. This is Jamie Theakston.
Yeah.
What happened to him? He is a full-time DJ now. I think he presents on Heart FM. What's his deal then? Did he have a scandal? I think you're thinking of that guy from Blue Peter, Farrah.
Is that right? Okay, yeah. This lodged in my mind some kind of children's presenter.
He won a BAFTA for live and kicking.
Oh dear. Oh my goodness.
But that takes pride of place on his shelf. I mean, have
Who's
you
the
won a
one-
BAFTA? I haven't.
Who's the one that hung himself?
Dark.
It wasn't Jamie Theakston.
No, it wasn't him. Can't remember. Any Dark. Well, it is the year of Dark Pharaoh, so I thought I could slip it in.
There's Jamie Theakston. He was all right, wasn't he?
Oh,
I reckon he was better than
Simpler
Toby.
times.
I
Simpler
reckon
times.
he was better than Toby Anstis.
I have an issue with your advert, AA.
Oh, what's wrong with it?
You have included a clip because you've got, of course, Shawjan from that famous 70s program, The Brady Bunch. But then you have another clip, but that isn't the Brady Bunch. That clip is people pretending to be the Brady Bunch.
It's I actually think it's from that Shawjan clip is from, I think it's from like the 1995 movie of the Brady Bunch. Is that right?
I think the Shawjan is from the original program, but I am going to murder the dog. I really am. I'm not going to make it through another year.
No, it is. No, I took it from the original. That's from the original footage.
Yeah, Shawjan is, but then there's another clip of like a fake Carol and Mr. Brady. No, those aren't the Brady.
The scene and the footage is from the 1995 Brady Bunch movie.
Oh, well, that's very disappointing. Boo.
Yeah. And the Shawjan scene is from that movie, not from.
Oh, I thought that was. Oh God, I thought that was the original.
You see, everybody's has a Mandela effect on that meme. They think it's from the original Brady Bunch.
Yeah, because it looks very much like the original actress. They were all like shagging each other. It's very, very dark history if you look into it.
I'm trying to remember the name of that actress now. She could do with a spot in the old tournament. She's a bit of a right, that actress. What's her name?
Well, the original one or the 90s one?
No, the 90s one. Christine Taylor, is it? Is that the one?
I don't know.
Anyway,
what are we doing here?
You're in a fine mood today. What's going on?
Well, I'm trying. I've adopted the AA lifestyle, and it's not going so well. 2 hours of sleep is just not for me.
I'm now curious about whether it was Christy, because it really does look like the original actress a lot.
Yeah, it really does.
Marcia Brady is the name of the.
Marcia Brady was the character. I can't remember what.
It's Christine Taylor as Marcia Brady, although she looks remarkably like the original one.
I do remember that the original actress who played Jan was called Eve Plum, because that's such a peculiar name.
I mean, I'm a little bit surprised that the left took on the Shawjan thing as a meme, because there's some top-notch bullying in that movie. Top-notch bullying. In order to track down that clip, I watched a bit more of it earlier on, and it's all just like relentless bullying of that character with the braces. Because
there was a lot of bullying in the original. I watched quite a lot of the original program, and
I mean, the whole setup is that this kind of ugly girl with braces is claiming that she's got a boyfriend, and nobody believes her. That is the context for Shawjan. Yeah,
and she did that in the original program. She's she's troubled. I remember there's a scene where she calls the telephone operator and tells her, like, oh, we're having a problem with our phone. Would you please call back and I'll see if it rings. And then she makes a show of answering it and pretending that it's her boyfriend, who she calls Joe Glass. I remember that as well.
Yeah, because there's literally a glass there.
Yeah, she sees the glass. Yeah, that's from the show. Yeah. We should do a Brady Bunch deepest law.
But like Marcia Brady's an absolute bitch. The character who says Shawjan is a proper, in fact, it's very in line with what was going on in the mid-90s when that movie came out. Clueless, I remember, had a lot of kind of bitchy, Mean Girl stuff in it. Mean Girls, of course. That was kind of in the ether. But really, that's what the left are all about, isn't it, D? They say they're for goodness and sweetness and light, but really they all aspire to be Marcia Brady.
Although in the original show, she gets her comeuppance because I remember she gets hit in the face with an American football. And she goes, oh, my nose! Yeah, it sort of like damages her face.
So anyway, if you want 25% off all courses, Shawjan is the promo code. Pharaoh, is there anything you'd like to promote other than Foundations of Entrepreneurship, of course?
No, but I did want to say how annoyed I am at the nanny state, and I'm sitting here right now drinking an entire bottle of Pepsi just to show the nanny state who's boss. I'm waving some flags. I'm waving the flag of the American military, the literal occupiers, to show the nanny state. That's how angry I am right now.
Have they done something to Pepsi?
No, Pharaoh is referring to the latest dark work of Sly Sneak, of course, which was a match made in heaven between Ruber and Martin. What's his name?
I managed to put it out of my mind, and that God's sake, that is the darkest work of Sly Sneak. I have to say.
We should have started off with a salute and some kind of salutations. That's that little montage of the salutes was just so good at the beginning. But
the worst salute ever.
I do sort of feel bad for Martin. I mean, Martin is obviously like, I guess the kind of genuine incel archetype, basically, isn't it? He literally lives with his mum, surrounded by movies, living 1,000 lives that he himself will never live.
I feel like people should be made to watch a bit of this so they know what we're talking about.
No.
Right, hold on. Here's Martin's merch.
Also, just the logo. Can we just analyze the logo there? a low res version of his face, and like that was the best smile he could do. That like grimace.
What's amazing is that he's got 3 shows: Martin's merch, Martin Muses, which is him like ranking Carry On movies and things like that, and then Martin
it's also,
Meets, which is him.
It's also squashed. Look, Ferro. It's also like squashed as well.
It's literally so tragic, and then the font is some kind of like 1950s Bewitched font or something like that.
And he's literally a human going hollow, drowning in a room stuffed full of merch. Oh.
Right, we'll get a bit of this, and then I want people to see the Pepsi thing that you're referring to, because it is quite amazing to see. All right, hold on.
Doctor Who DVDs. Ahoy, everybody, and welcome to part 3 of a look at my Doctor Who DVDs.
Evening, all. I've moved to the study, which hasn't got the greatest lighting.
Ahoy, everybody, and welcome to this video where I'm going to attempt to rank the actors who have portrayed James Bond in the Eon James Bond films.
Evening, all.
Ahoy, everybody, and
Evening, all.
I mean, what do you think about this salute form? from each of these.
This is like proper biscuit tin, isn't it? Biscuit tin nationalism right now. The faux salute. Although Rubber would never be in an army. If he ever was, he would be the private that was just bullied by everyone incessantly till he left. He would be the one dragging the rest of the regiment behind. So it's this kind of faux veneer of militaria.
See if we can find the Pepsi bit.
Look for the Uzi. Look for the Uzi and then go backwards.
Hold on.
Oh, it's so dark.
Tonight I'm so angry, with all this political correctness I've had it up to here. Well, tonight I strike a blow for liberty. And where are we going to start? We're going to start with this stuff, eh? You try and tax this, trying to control my drinking habits. Well, I'll have news for you, nanny state.
Vocals by Michael Jackson. Rockwell was the nephew, I think, of Berry Gordy. Another 12-inch Roland Rats superstar with Love Me Tender. And side 2 is Rapping Special Extended Remix. Side 1 is for More Value for Money Extended Mix of Love Me Tender. Yeah, side 2 Rapping Special Extended Remix, Love Me Tender 7-inch version, and the Pink Bucket song. There's going to be some of you watching this who have no idea who Roland Rat is and was.
Cheers. Delicious. Aspartame is evil. What else? How else can I get up the nose of the left? Right, here. It's a pistol, right? You put the ammo in here, squeeze the trigger, bullets come out there. Okay, what else have we got? Yeah, this. I preferred this to the Quran. Okay, what else have we got? My country, not the EU. Make Britain great again. Speaking of that. Okay, what have we got here? This pennant for the United States Army. Support the troops, eh? They've done a good job over the last 70 years. Right, wait there just a sec. Kitty, catty.
Oh, all right, I think that'll do us. Does he get an Uzi?
He does. He gets like a weird Uzi.
Right,
It's okay, but it's not a proper film.
Oh.
I will be showing you the films from the 2 box sets I have. So the first 12, is it, I think, are in this box set. They come in proper individual DVD cases. The other ones are in this box set, which in 3 themed collections.
Oh, it's covered in dark as well.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to make you a YouTube star. Right, okay.
No, not the cat.
Lebensraum, Kitty. Lebensraum, strength through joy. That's it. Okay, go. Right, what else? Milk. Pure milk. Praise cake. Let Lawrence Southern into the country. What else? Tommy Robinson may have a point. Okay. Oh, I see. See this, David Hogg? Military-style assault weapon. And that's how it works. Okay.
All right, I think that's enough of that.
There's so much to dissect in that small segment. For example, the Webley was plastic, as is the Uzi, and again, it's this false veneer of masculinity through toys. And I find it really fascinating. Again, like Ruba and again, this biscuit tin nationalism, where they sort of have an obsession with the army and war, but are very unwarlike, if that makes sense. These are not warriors; they are observers from afar, wanking over a whole lot of plastic toys. It's something very, very disturbing about him. And again, I just can't get over the literally waving the American flag, the American army flag. It's almost kind of like, yay, our occupiers for 70 years. It's just like that's how mentally controlled he is at this stage. Anyway, terrible.
Yes. Yes, it's been quite interesting. People are starting to write essays underneath Sly Sneak videos now. So some dude literally wrote like a 1,000-word essay under one of them, which I haven't read yet. But anyway, we want to watch some old public films, and in the interest of time, we're going to be looking at. Let's make a move on. We're going to be looking at one about capitalism from 1955, I think it is. So, do you have it lined up separately? Do you want me to say 1, 2, 3, go?
Wait, wait. We're not talking about David Bowie. What are we doing here?
We're doing the films. The films.
I'm sorry. I was so traumatized. I don't even know where I am. Oh God. That is pure distilled pain.
I mean, who do you think? Who do you think is out of like Martin and Ruba? Like, who's worse? That's a genuine question.
The thing is, Martin doesn't like. It almost seems like he's not really coverable. You know, like you just feel he's
innocent. Yeah,
he's innocent. But Ruba isn't. Like, Ruba is responsible for that. Like, Martin is just. I mean, he may be sad, but he's sincere. But
he's like he's literally like a child. He's been sort of locked in a room. But I feel like with Martin, he's an example of like how society has failed. You know, there are so many Martins out there in society, and we have failed because he exists. While Ruba is a genuine problem with actual mental issues. And he needs to sort his life out. You know, it's very different, I think.
I mean,
Ruba is also malignant. I mean, if you've ever interacted with Ruba, like he's you know, there's a deep anger there. You know.
I mean, we didn't get to the Bob Dylan skit, did we?
No.
Did you see that?
Okay, capitalism. Where is this?
I mean, I can't even believe he did it.
Okay, a look at capitalism.
Yeah, it's called a look. It's called a look.
Let's have a look. We had a look into the heart of darkness. Let's have a look at capitalism.
I can't help it now, D. Sorry, we're gonna have to.
Do Martin and Ruba know each other?
I don't know. I feel like they should, but I mean, there's this bit as well. Hold on.
Lib Dems wish death on XPM. Ed Davey gets roasted on BBC Question. Labour has to declare war on prep school. Rainer rails against the kids and fills a pool with her drool. Look out, kids, you're gonna get hit by Greta, Peta, Linus fake letter. Don't follow Joe Moore. Twerking is the new porn. Yonkers in the bunker putting tariffs on the sweet corn.
I mean, do you know how much you'd have to think about that to write it all out?
Days,
you know,
days of his activity at home. You know, he's got to do something. You know, he is a housekeeper, a cleaner. You got to pass the hours, and you're going to do that by coming up with these ridiculous skits that are weapons grade cringe. I could literally weaponize that AA. I could play that back to our enemies and destroy them just by watching that over and over again. It's that painful.
I think that's forbidden by the Geneva Convention. Oh.
Hey, honey, I'm home. What did you do today? I made a parody of a 40-year-old Bob Dylan video. Sorry.
Like he didn't even, like, he could have made it black and white. Like he could have. Yeah. God. Imagine making something like that, and then like knowingly putting it in public where everyone could see.
All right. So I'm going to count to 3, D. I'm going to go 3, 2, 1, and play. Okay.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, and play.
Programs is being presented to help all of us understand better our advantage, our American way of life.
For today's topic, let's join now a group of young people at the National Education Program Workshop, Arkansas.
But by the way, I want to background check on Benson already.
Gaines Jr., noted young historian.
Look at this, Chad.
We have discussed socialism and communism in our last 2 classroom sessions. Now, founder and director of the National Education Program says that if each generation of Americans will develop a clear understanding of our American system of capitalism, how it works, and the comparative advantages it produces for all citizens,
Comparative advantage.
then neither socialism nor communism ever will become established in America. So let's see if we can develop a better understanding of capitalism. But first, who will define for us the term capital? That is, in its economic sense. All right, Joan, suppose you define it for us.
Lizzo, tell us about capital.
Well, money. Capital's money.
That's right, but only partially right. Let me demonstrate. Here is a dime. Suppose I take this dime and buy some ceramic clay. Now then, my money, which is capital, has been converted into raw material, which it logically follows must also be capital. I mold this clay
can we just stop a
into
second?
a
Sorry.
child's toy animal.
Go on.
Can we just roll back to the faces of the crowd, because there's something I feel like the youth of today are just so like there's like nothing to them. Like look at the guy in the background or the women. They're just kind of like normal, well-rounded people, aren't they? Where I feel like that. Why are all like Zoomers and below so gaunt? They're so skinny. You know, they're very like soyified. Don't you think? Is it just me? I don't know. Like,
well, they're either soy-fied or they're Lizzo-fied, and there's no in between.
Yes, that's true.
No,
Yeah.
normal.
Yeah.
There's a certain pudgy, like you can get pudgy variety, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Where they're kind of meaty, you know. There's also horrible makeup trends at the moment. Horrible makeup trends. I really, you know, when I was back in Wales, I had a reason to go downtown a few times, and I witnessed some of the local wildlife. I was thinking, they would have been in school with me 20 years ago. What happened? They didn't look like that back then. So, yeah,
society.
Definitely some, the youth of today, Pharaoh, isn't it? The youth of today.
Money. Capital's money.
That's right, but only partially right. Let me demonstrate. Here is a dime.
I just want to mention as well that I am not convinced it follows logically that because you've exchanged money for a good, that good is also capital. I'm not convinced by that explanation.
Yeah, because it's not liquid, is it? You can't.
Well, you can convert money into a consumer good, which is not capital. It has to be a particular good to count as capital. So he needs to explain that if he doesn't. Sorry.
Well, can I ask a question?
He's not going to get into fungibility, I suppose.
Can I ask a question about his accent? Because he says dime.
Dime. Dime.
Where's that from, D? What accent's that?
Well, as far as I can tell, I mean, it's difficult to say. You know, there was a sort of what they call the mid-Atlantic accent that was quite prevalent. So if you watch like American films,
yeah, they sound
from the
British, don't they?
Yeah, from the 40s, 30s, 40s. I mean, you will hear it like most people. It's a bit like received pronunciation.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it may be that, you know.
In this era, they were doyem a dozen.
Terrible.
Dime.
Okay, let's carry on.
Suppose I take this dime and buy some ceramic clay. Now then, my money, which is capital, has been converted into raw material, which it logically follows must also be capital. I mold this clay into a child's toy animal.
What is it? A piggy?
You would regard the energy expended by me as capital. Now, when I finish, I bake this clay toy in my oven at home. This oven, or any machine I might use in achieving the final product, must also be regarded as capital. Then I add the final touch and sell the toy for 39 cents.
Sorry, stop a second. All right. Any normal person would have like shown the clay and then shown like an actual thing, but he sculpted the whole thing live while carrying on. I have to commend the artistry of the pig maker. So
I'm also not convinced that his labour expended is capital. I'm not sure if that's strictly true. You'd say that if you buy in labour, that counts as part of your costs, but not convinced that the labour he personally expended would count as capital on his asset balance sheet. At the very least, he wouldn't be able. I don't think he'd be able to write it down unless he billed himself for his own man hours.
Yeah, no, you can't do that. AA, if you presented that to AAA as a toy, as her birthday present, what do you think? How do you think she'd react? A small ceramic pig.
I think AAA would probably want to destroy it.
I don't like that.
I think she'd want to make her own shape from this.
This has real Yoffie energy.
It does, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, people are saying it's a propaganda film, not an economics lesson, but it is being presented as an economics lesson. Would anybody disagree? I mean, he's literally explaining what capital is. So, I'm just, in the interests of selling more foundations of economic courses, I want to make sure they're getting the definitions right.
Monophthalmos says pig molder on the grand scale. Yeah.
Did you see, by the way, that a sausage maker on the great scale did actually die the other day? Like a sausage tycoon died. Did anybody see that?
Oh yeah, a Russian sausage tycoon, I believe. Yeah.
It just cracked me up. The sausage wars were going on, and then a real life Boba Higgins died.
Boba Higgins was murdered.
Or Babusco Higginski.
Yeah. What was? Yeah. Well,
No, there you go. Yeah.
At least I try to. And if I should succeed, I take the 39 cents, reinvest it in clay, and start the cycle again, employing again all the farms which capital may take, as raw materials, as energy, as machine, and so on. Capital, in a few words, is money at work producing things. And since I am in charge of the cycle, I'm a capitalist. Yes?
Well, what if you have to borrow that money like so many businesses do to start that cycle?
Then that makes the lender a capitalist too, since it is his money at work producing something, and he becomes a part of the cycle. Capitalism is a system in which economic wealth or capital is used to produce goods for sale, or in other words, to produce new wealth.
One thing I love about these films
kinds of capitalism.
Yeah, Steve. Sorry.
It's the era of having a small sign with a key word on it. There's just something magical about that.
Yeah, I feel like watching this, I want to at some point this year on my to-do list. I want to do a critique of some Austrian theory myself, because if there's anywhere where it is open to critique, I think it is in the area of capital formation, especially in Ludwig von Mises's description of the stock market and its operations. Because if you ask me, you guys may disagree, but that is the area where our system goes wrong and concentrates power in the hands of our enemies. It's in the allocation of capital through the stock market. That is both the area in which control is handed over to the managers, and it is also the area in which the real economy gets dislocated from the financial economy. I mean, does anybody really think that the twats in Wall Street are efficiently allocating resources to the most productive ends? Does a single person in the world believe that they are putting money in places where they are most productive and most needed? Anyone at all?
No. I think that's one really good point. And the second thing I would say is I think that the limited liability company is one of the biggest preservers of frauds, cowards, and cheats. And I say to abolish it and to bring back debtors' prison, sir. That is that's genuinely, this is how the managerial class survive, because they can literally tank a business, have no consequences whatsoever, and just move on to the next thing. You need to have a feedback system for the managerial and entrepreneurial class for failure. That isn't just, I can just make another business tomorrow. There's literally there's no downside. It's personally affected me in my business many times. This thing, and I tell you, it's often people who you've heard of, like Phoenix businesses, I presume.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. This happens so much even today, and no one does anything about it at all. It's a genuine, serious problem, because it just allows frauds and cheats just to keep rolling the dice until they get lucky. And so, is it any surprise that the class of merchant overlord that we have over us is so low? Because they haven't had to pay any consequences at all. There's very few consequences, I think, for the managerial class.
Yeah, I mean, without getting too bogged down into this, there's a couple of other things too, Pharaoh. One is the dislocation of equities valuations from fundamentals. You're actually seeing it right now with Tesla. Funny enough, if you follow Elon Musk, he's constantly, drawing your attention to the fact that Tesla's underlying fundamentals are pretty good, and is not being reflected currently in the market price. Ironically, Tesla was overvalued for many years. Huge number of companies never turn any profit, like in their entire lifetimes, and yet they're worth billions upon billions of dollars. And
yeah, I mean, like YouTube or Twitter,
Yeah, and that kind of capex, they call it, that valuation by people speculating on the spot on the stock market, is purely how can I say, an expression of market sentiment in Wall Street, right? It has absolutely nothing to do with producing anything for society at all. So this, I think, should be a problem for Austrian theory. The other thing, in the actual real economy, this is something we've talked about a little bit on this show before, Pharaoh, is the Austrian belief in consumer sovereignty, the idea that the customer is king, as it were. The customer ultimately is the one who decides what makes it in the supermarkets, or what. And I actually just think that that's wrong. I think that the consumers are cattle who are led by the nose and essentially just told what to buy, and are trained, much like kind of animals are domesticated, into habits that they then never break for a lifetime. So, which makes huge sways of the economy almost perfectly predictable. And I've talked about Fairy Liquid sales before. For example, Fairy Liquid could forecast their next 20 years and probably predict within 5% what their sales figures will be in 5 years' time. And that's just because the Fairy Liquid market is predictable, and the consumers are trained just to buy that product without even thinking about it. And a huge number of products are just that. They're habitual purchases that nobody even thinks about. So this idea you have an active consumer just making choices there on the shop floor, again, I think needs another look. I don't know what you think about that as a marketing guy, but
yeah, 100%. Like, think about new product launches. Think about new markets and new brands. They, at some degree, must capture the imagination. And again, I think part of it is, one way of thinking of it is, there is a certain amount of free income that people have. How do you capture that free income? Are they going to spend it on this type of entertainment or something else? So yeah, I totally agree with that. Interestingly, again, I'm going to obviously mention Ruskin as well, where he's obsessed with about how people spend money. And I think one of his big challenges to political economy is, it answers the question of, you know, how things work, but like what are the motivations for spending, and what should people spend their money on? Should it be on good things and bad things? Also, I loved that Toynbee passage that you had on Twitter, where he's kind of referencing what's the name of it? Homo economicus.
Yes.
The idea of like this kind of ivory tower merchant who's disconnected, who only cares about enriching himself and being disconnected from the commonweal. And I think that's an interesting concept, like both morally and economically. What happens when you have a whole lot of people who just are out for themselves and don't care about those consequences? But yeah, like I think this is definite interesting stuff to look at there. So.
I mean, a very interesting question I've got, you know, for a marketer such as yourself is, if consumer habits are essentially very conservative, i.e. the status quo is extremely rigid, and you can basically predict, you know, 90% of consumer habits, you know, it's just, they'll just default to the market leader 9 times out of 10. It's actually about 7 times out of 10. About 70% of all consumers will just go and buy the fairy liquid, or they'll buy the Walker's crisp because that's what they've always done. How do you actually change consumer habits in the aggregate? Like, because that does happen sometimes, and once they change, they like never go back. This is what like all the nudge units are about, right? I think one of the things they've successfully broken is smoking. Like, my pet.
Not in the Zoomer generation, interestingly, because whenever I hang out at some of the basket weaving events, all of the younger kids are smoking again. But for millennials, it's blocked out. I think there's two ways of doing it. I think one is through revolutionary circumstances. So there's a fundamental change in life habits. So, for example, moving from the horse and cart to the automobile, for example, you know, that's fundamentally changed how you purchase things because your life is fundamentally different at that point of inflection. Or there's evolutionary, where through aggressive marketing and like basically branding, one brand can beat another brand in the marketplace. You know, the idea of like challenger brands taking over. You know, as some of the kind of established brands get more kind of managerial and atrophied as time goes on, they have more weight holding them down. You know, I was thinking about this with Aldi and their cereal, because they sell like honey crunch cereal, whatever it's called, the Kellogg's version. It's about £2.40, and their own brand for £1.15. And what I think's happened now is that like 10 years ago, all these products were inferior to the market leaders, but I believe they're actually superior in taste to the brand leaders, because they've those big brand guys have all they do is they're having to pay for all the diversity officers and all that other useless stuff dragging them down, and so you end up in a situation where the market incumbent can easily they become very brittle because they're just so big and fat and bloated that anyone can come in and smash it, basically. So I think those are the two types: the kind of idea of a fundamental revolution in how we live our lives or circumstances, or through this kind of atrophying effect.
Interesting.
Yes, there are, and the differences can be vitally important. State capitalism is often the first stage of socialism.
This is pure Mises, by the way. This is Mises propaganda right here.
We might say that state capitalism exists when the government achieves a combination of ownership and control in business and industry large enough to permit it to dominate the nation's economy. And there are forms of capitalism in which production and distribution are governed by cartels or monopolies, fixing prices and permitting no competition. This form existed in many European countries in the time of Karl Marx and during this century, before socialism or communism gained control. Yes, John, an important fact that we must emphasize is that American capitalism is quite unique. There never has been a system quite like it.
Did you notice how they had they switched to the audience and had them nodding along? It's known as noddies or yeah, like, and it's a technique because if you have if you're surrounded by people who are nodding along, you will naturally nod along too. You'll see this in like meeting dynamics loads. And so one tip we were always told in our sales pitch training was around active listening. Say, for example, you're pitching to a client, there's 5 people from your side, 5 people from theirs. It's a big meeting, and one of your guys is presenting. You have to give that person who's presenting 100% attention, and you've got to nod along at all of their points. And what happens is that everyone else who's in the meeting room will naturally follow the gazes of other people, and they'll follow the actions as well, because we're social creatures and reactive. So this is quite clever propaganda. That little guy nodding along will make us nod along at home watching the video as well.
Social proof, Pharaoh. People want to be they want to be like other people. Social proof. This is one of the persuasion techniques I look at in the rhetoric course.
Yeah,
sure.
So if you have a few people who are 30 stone wearing undergarments and playing a flute, everyone else will start doing the
I don't know, if you see a few people scrambling around for a bottle of Prime, maybe you too will want a bottle of Prime.
Exactly. Or a few people put on a mask, and then of course everyone will put on the mask. I mean, it's sad, but it's absolutely true. It works 100%.
Human beings are very, very cattle-like. And my disappointment in them is total at this point. It's total.
Indeed.
The real research question isn't why are people like that? It's why are people like us? What is wrong with the three of us that we don't fall for these things? That's my question. Is it that we're just disagreeable, slightly autistic males? Is that the reason? Or?
That may be part of it, but I hate to say, but I don't think we're entirely immune from this either. We just tend to get our signals from different places,
Yes, that's true as well.
I think part of it is though is waking up and seeing. Part of the spell and illusion to a lot of propaganda is not knowing it's propaganda, if that makes sense. As soon as you have the tool set to recognize stuff, you can, in your head, as stuff is happening, realize this is all BS, right? I'll give you an example. I was watching the film Amsterdam last night, and I was like, oh, it's going to be like a detective drama, and it was totally awful. I think you need to see it just because of the propaganda levels to it, where it's basically about 3 characters: a woman, a half Jewish man, and a black man defeat Nazism in America. Basically, is the story. But
Ruber with my flag.
Yeah, exactly. But when you go into it with the mindset of this is obviously a setup, the whole thing is a setup. To kind of push different narratives, you start to realize stuff. And again, I think this idea of, quote unquote, wokeness is true to a degree. You can recognize things in the system if you are aware. So I think that is a big step.
I mean, back when I was teaching Pharaoh, I used to do something, I don't want to say it was subversive, but I thought it was very interesting as a kind of social experiment. When I was teaching structural Marxism, Foucault and Althusser and those things on the core theory course, rather than giving them stuff from the 1950s, which has been done to death 1,000 times, I gave them current Vogue magazine, like current media, and asked them basically to deconstruct that, which I thought was interesting because, of course, it was all woke. It was all post.
Yeah, girl boss. Yeah.
Yeah, it was all already kind of. So I, wanted to observe, like, how comfortable are they actually confronting the actual power structure using these tools? And it did make me wonder, will there come a point where the universities will actually stop teaching that stuff? Because it's a natural progression to use those Marxist tools like back on themselves, if that makes any sense. You can't just deconstruct the 1950s forever, basically. And the actual reality that we live in is that Vogue magazine is just covered in girl boss black women, right? So it's just kind of an interesting thing that I like to do. I like to do that quite a bit, for my own sick amusement, obviously. But anyway, let's carry on.
Well, the other thing, of course, at some point I'd like to talk about it, because it's so prevalent. There's this entirely false notion of, I mean, we basically constructed fictions of the past. I think everyone refers to like the 50s as a sort of canon of behaviors and ideas and cultural signals and all of that. And yet, in a way, it's all completely mediated and false. I mean, everyone's idea of the kind of 1950s is purely based upon a few sort of adverts and stereotypes that have been passed down, and again that have been, as you say, deconstructed and analyzed by already several generations of feminists and Marxists and post-structuralists and such, and I think people start to accept that as a shorthand. I mean, again, if I say what was the 1960s like, everyone is going to, well, most people are going to come up with an image of kind of hippies and the Beatles and things like that, but that was minuscule, a minuscule part of it. So it is very odd. Again, we have this idea of 50s, but it's something else.
Just on that quickly, for me, it's fascinating because it's all about the creation of mythologies. So again, with the 50s, it's about here is the myth of what the 50s was like. Women came home and were beaten by their husbands and were treated as serfs in the house, etc. And just to go back to your point, AA, I think what's happening is that we're gonna end up in this kind of neo mythological state, almost like Bronze Age, where these kind of like mythological moments. Do you remember the 1950s was this almost kind of like Ragnarok period, and these myths will be passed down from generation to generation. Just to give you an example, going back to that Amsterdam film, again, it was interesting because, again, if you know anything about the time and the complicated nature on the run up to the Second World War, it was nothing like the film. It was nothing like the film, but they'd created this mythology around, I've got to be careful what I say here, around the Second World War and the reasons and the run up to it. I think someone was mentioning on Twitter how close to post Second World War, how the atom bomb was considered to be the most horrific.
That was me.
Moment.
That was me.
Yeah, exactly. But a new mythology has been formed, and I think it is not allowed to be critiqued. It's almost kind of like theological. It's kind of like to question the myths that we've these powerful myths. It's blasphemous. Anyway, but I guess it's boomer truth stuff, isn't it? Really, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's an origin myth, and in fact, I've been looking at myths recently. Most myths start with a catastrophe of some sort, like an original. It's often a flood, but this is a different type of flood, I guess. That starts at the base of this kind of truth regime. Just very quickly, another little exercise I used to get them to do was to go and find actual authentic 1950s parental guides and to see what they found in there. And the gap between expectation and reality was always very interesting, because the 1950s, the actual real life parental 1950s guys were actually uber liberal. They were basically just telling parents to leave their kids go free, essentially. And they were actually a lot more liberal than what any of the students would have in mind.
Yeah,
for their own kids, I mean, for their with their own ideas of parenting, were actually stricter than what the 1950s said. So that was an interesting exercise as well.
It's true about a lot of things. I mean, people forget the 50s were really the kind of fertilizer for all of the pathologies that we have today. It was not, I think, generally, if you take a look at the whole decade and the sort of philosophies and theories and people who were pushing them, it was really the beginning of it was not some base decade. It was the beginning, and the acceleration of all of this.
Yeah, no. One of the little interesting things I found writing this book, Prophets of Doomsday, has been the reception of Spengler and Toynbee, but Toynbee in particular. In the 1930s, the public is always on board with these guys, but I'm talking about like kind of the professional reaction within the academy. In the 1930s, there was a lot more willingness to talk about narratives of decline, but in the 1950s, they were. I mean, it's basically a career ender. It's a kind of the level of vitriol against Toynbee in the 50s is insane. I'm talking about people like there are well-known historians just saying like Arnold Toynbee is hateful. He's hateful. He hates Western civilization and he wants it to crash and burn, basically, because he's questioning the myths, yeah, the myth of progress. I mean, one reviewer is like literally Hitler. He's worse than Hitler. I'm not even joking. Which I find is kind of interesting. And what happened between 1939 and 1954 for that to happen, for there to be such a change of. The same thing happens with the elite theorists. Funny enough, in the 1930s, it was kind of trendy to question democracy or to be an elitist, but by the 50s, it was again, you just didn't question liberal democracy by 1955.
Yeah,
and it'd be a career ender.
There's something totalitarian about it, isn't it? Just like a fully ideological. You got to get on board, or that's it. And again, like if you were to ask even like a middle class person or whatever, or a university goer who Toynbee is, probably less than 0.1% would know of him at all.
Well, so. There's people in chat talking about Polly Toynbee.
Well, Polly Toynbee was related to Arnold Toynbee, but yeah, I mean, you're right, Ferry. He in particular went from being probably the most famous historian ever. I mean, I'm talking like he sold like 500,000 books. TV, media personality, to by the time he died, almost being completely forgotten in the space of like 15 years or something. So
it's almost like there was a coup.
Oh yeah, almost like there was a coup. Yeah, exactly.
I hate to be that guy, but we're literally turning into EFAP. We're never going to get through these.
Sorry.
We got to go.
All history. So let's examine the structure of American capitalism.
American.
There are three great pillars. The first and foremost of these is, who can tell us? All right, Louise.
Isn't it the principle of private ownership of property?
Yes, it is. This principle of private ownership is undoubtedly the most fundamental element in the structure of American capitalism.
Literal pillar.
I love it. You just don't get teaching aids.
Consider, for instance, home ownership, which is a bright American goal for most of our people. The desire to own one's own home, one's own property.
This is so tragic.
Provides a real incentive for almost all Americans to bring out their most productive efforts.
$10,000 for a bungalow.
In the American system, what's yours is yours. What you do with it is your business. You can squander it away, or you can work harder and produce.
Unfortunately, in about 40 years' time, a certain man called Bill Clinton would decide that he was going to try to give every black person in America their own home for an almost zero interest mortgage, regardless of what their credit rating was like. Do you know, if you ever bring that up to a leftist, they will hit you with a paper saying that's not true because actually, if you were doing a debate with Vaush, for example, he'd be like, actually, HUD did an investigation into the causes of 2008, and it wasn't the fact that we gave black people really cheap mortgages that caused the problem. The mafia has investigated the mafia.
Yeah, the mafia has investigated the mafia.
I mean, this is why the whole Vaush technique is a winner for him, because the system will always protect itself from obvious facts, like the fact that In fact, Thomas Sowell's got a very good book on the housing boom and bust, where he goes into HUD and the fact that it's actually black mortgages that are at the heart of what happened there.
I just find.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was just going to say.
Go on.
I find the idea of debating a leftist just a total waste of time. It's literally just no point. The time for debate is over in my mind.
Yes, I know, absolutely. I'm just saying that if anybody ever did find themselves in that situation, there's a ready-made kind of, the government have said it wasn't the black mortgages that did it. It was this other thing over here. It was the bundling up of toxic debt, and I mean that did it. That is part of it too, but the underlying cause is because they were giving people mortgages that they couldn't afford and they were going to default on. There's a basic driver of it, because they declared owning your own house a human right in 1994, which you probably remember, D. You probably remember all of that, or maybe you don't. Maybe you don't.
No. But I mean, certainly know all about it in retrospect, and certainly the pain of 2008 caused certainly investigations into.
I think Biden's doing it again. By the way, I think they're gearing up to, in the name of Black Lives Matter or some bullshit. They're going to do it again.
Good. Bring it all down. Just I want them to load it up so much that it falls apart.
More and have more. The principle of the private ownership of property is the number one target of the socialist and communist. They believe in government ownership and control. Karl Marx in the Communist Manifesto wrote, "The theory of the communist may be summed up in a single sentence: abolition of private property."
Own nothing and be happy.
So private property is the foremost pillar supporting the American system and our personal freedom. That brings us to the second great pillar. Who can tell us what it is? All right, Mary.
Stop calling on women!
Yes, indeed.
Oh.
This is the stimulus that brings private ownership to life and expands its usefulness to society as a whole. In one sense, profit is property. When an individual produces more than the basic living requirements for himself and his family,
sorry. Pause a second on that, please. I mean, that is literally like a dream world. There's like a diffuse camera lens on there to make it slightly like hazy.
Oh, it's so beautiful.
Like, obviously, there is something so very cursed about the suburban 50s American dream.
No.
But,
wonderful.
Well, ideologically, I feel like there's a falsity to it, D, is what I'm trying to say. But it is it's a beautiful dream. Do you know what I'm saying? It's just like, you can see why people get wrapped up in it. And, today, the equivalent of this is Dean rocking up in his Land Rover to his Barrett Homes. Bassett. What was it called?
Who was it who said 2 cars in every garage and a chicken in the pot?
Ah, wonderful.
Herbert Hoover. Who said that?
Oh, okay. I thought it was King Henry.
No, it wouldn't be King Henry. You wouldn't know what a car was.
Look at that. I mean, again, just look at the automobile. I mean, let alone the bungalow. Now you're not even going to be able to own an automobile. They don't even want you to have that anymore. All right, go ahead.
Or there'll be some 15-stone black woman jumping up and down over it, and you can't even call the police on her.
Is fit. An automobile is not a basic requirement for survival.
Yes, it is.
Nor is a television set.
Yes, it is.
Yet most American families want them and have them, because all normal human beings want more than the bare necessities of existence. The capitalistic principle of private ownership gives them the privilege of earning and keeping enough wealth beyond their food and shelter requirements to afford to buy the other things they want.
But Professor Gaines, what about the individual who doesn't produce a product of his own? What I mean is, what about the employee, the worker?
Well, you remember we said that energy is capital. Ability is capital. When we as employees work for someone else, we're not selling our time, we're selling our services, our ability. When we get paid, if we save a little of our income, we're profiting. And we can become employers if we wish and if we can develop management capabilities. Many of America's greatest industrialists were employees who saved and developed their capabilities. If we do not develop into employers, we still can...
Can I just stop there, by the way? The idea in 2022 that an employee could save their money enough to start their own business is ridiculous.
Also, even the idea, I think, of entrepreneurialism outside of startup capital is totally foreign. And by that, I mean, the only way to start up a business these days and be successful, I think, is to secure a substantial amount of capital from potential investors. But again, back in this period, there was enough flexibility in the marketplace to achieve that. I think one of the consequences of the efficient economy that we're living in is, obviously the stranglehold on small businesses, meaning that it's very, very difficult to even find a niche. Something like the internet has made, you can't have like the kind of small little niche businesses in a local area anymore. Everything's on eBay instead. So I think what these guys haven't accounted for is some of the consequences of this American style capitalism, where again market consolidation has meant that it's very difficult for small brands to challenge without investment, and that has consequences in its own regards down the line. But do we seriously think that there's going to be someone who's going to challenge Unilever and replace them in the next 100 years? I think it's impossible.
Well, they're not going to do it by saving their fixed income, are they?
Yeah.
Especially when the Bank of England and the Fed make money depreciate in real time. I mean, essentially I would encourage you, if you've got a £10 note, right? Imagine it as a piece of bread that is rotting, like quickly. Basically, all your money is rotting as we speak because of the rampant inflation that is inflicted on us by our overlords. So they make saving impossible. They make it impossible. But I don't see any, like, the incentives of politicians are such that they're never going to reverse that policy. They've just got too much to win by keeping inflation going and too much to lose by ever letting there be any deflationary moment at all in the economy. So it's you'll never get the Victorian conditions whereby it makes sense to save. We live in a kind of hedonistic, high time preference economy by design. It's Keynesian or post-Keynesian official policy. These people want you to spend your money. Spend. That's how you get the economy going. This has been the dominant thinking for the past, So what I'm saying is the very notion of saving at all, let alone saving to start a business, is basically impossible. How are you going to do it? Where are you going to find guaranteed fixed rates of return high enough to beat inflation consistently on your 40 grand a year job or 50 grand a year job? You're not going to be able to do it, are you? Anyway, let's carry on. I saw there was a leftist in chat. I hope he's learning something here.
Become producers or capitalists by investing our surplus, our savings, in some enterprise which is producing something. 18 million ordinary Americans own stock in businesses and industries. If I borrowed money from you to make my clay toys, you would become producers, since your capital would help produce my toys. The business world is full of actual examples. General Motors, for instance, is just a group of people who, with their dimes and dollars...
I would like to stop this here and point out that by this point, GM had already been bailed out at least twice.
Yeah.
So there are lies at foot here. GM was bailed out twice by this point.
Yeah. Also, just imagine just getting a group of people together, starting a car company. And before people say Tesla, Elon had a stack of cash before that. That's it. It's the game is rigged for for the saver and the small man, basically. I think
you too can be the next superstar YouTuber, friends. All you need is to be Lex Freeman and have Eric Schmidt as your, like, what was it, his second guest or something? Hey, I'm a brand new guy on YouTube. I'm just making my own channel. Yeah, I'm going to interview the CEO of Google. You know, brilliant. Literally Eric Schmidt is his second guest. And he's relentlessly pushing the algos. Have you noticed that? You don't get Jordan Peterson anymore. You get Lex Friedman. It's like, okay, brilliant. But that's not, like, what I'm saying is that's not a dream for anybody, is it? That's not like you can't be the next Lex Friedman, because not everybody can just get Eric Schmidt on the line. How Lex Friedman came out of nowhere and got Eric Schmidt on the line, who knows? But he clearly had prior connections, and he clearly has some inside track that relentlessly promotes his videos on YouTube. That's why he hit the scene and now has like millions of subscribers. Whereas some of us little folk here plying our trade will never have that, because we're never going to get promoted to that level. Am I wrong, Pharaoh?
No, exactly. Like the system is tightly controlled in many different ways, from either from a media perspective, from a legal perspective as well. Like I said, just think back to even 80 years ago or whatever. You could carve out a successful small business in your locale. If imagine you're in like a small town or something like that, you could set up a small business and you would be fine, because you're sort of like you have a form of protection. But there's literally no protection. If you're starting a small business on the high street, you're competing against the world's best from day one. You know, how do you answer that solution? How do you create the challenger brands of the future to stop all of these grossly overburdened businesses that shouldn't be alive? You know, these zombie businesses that they should not be alive in a normal system, but they're sort of, just perpetually kept. Anyway.
Well, Pharaoh, General Motors is just a group of guys, regular old guys, who started a business one day.
That's a good meme. Yeah, just a group of people.
It's difficult to have a popular channel when it takes you an hour to get through a 13-minute film.
Sorry, D.
No, it's fine.
I think we might just stick with this one video today.
No. All the other ones are so good. I hate. I wish No, I don't want to do another part.
We'll do part 2.
Play it.
You can go and sleep with the cucumbers on your eyes after this. You can put the cucumbers on your eyes and the face mask and.
I picked so many good films, and it's like the worst one. All right, go.
It's been a good stream, though. It's been a good stream.
No.
Producing products for sale. There are more than 500,000 stockholders with their savings invested in General Motors. And why do they invest their dimes and dollars? They want to make a profit. It is a normal, wholesome motivation.
Dr. Gaines, I once heard a clergyman say...
Sorry, is his name Dr. Gaines?
Dr. Gaines.
I think his name is Dr. Gaines.
Oh, dear.
No, I'm just going to go back a bit. Dr. Gaines.
It is a normal, wholesome motivation.
Wholesome.
Dr. Gaines, I once heard a clergyman say that the profit motive is not a good motive.
Do you agree with him? I'm sure the clergyman wasn't a socialist or communist.
Oh, are you sure?
That happens to be what the socialists and communists say about the profit motive. And yet, most converts to socialism and communism join...
Can I just stop with it? Do you know there was a major push in the 1950s to use the church and to use, what do they call it, proselytizing, in order to get people to have a different view of money and a different view of wealth within America through various religious people. Kind of an interesting thing, because it was a deeply in-baked idea that there was something. It was actually something to be ashamed of, to make money.
Interestingly, but like I think, sorry to go theological, if you look at the passage of the talents, for example, where there's different servants given different amount, in my mind, the Bible's clear around money not being an intrinsic bad, just more that people who receive more have more expected from them. So again, I don't have people making a profit. I'd prefer it was a psychic one than a material one usually. But if you have money, you have a responsibility at the same time to return that money to God and to the people around you at the same time. And I think that's what's been disconnected. Again, that I keep thinking of that Toynbee stuff. Again, that that esoteric, the esoteric manager just building his ivory tower for himself and just being disconnected from the community. You know.
And up because of the promise of personal benefit or profit. Would a clergyman be able to fill his church if he told prospective members that there is no personal reward or profit in giving one's life to God?
Ooh.
How many of you students study at dinner each evening?
That's a cynical point, isn't it?
That was very naughty. Disapprove.
That was a
He's
cynical.
Right. He's right.
Cynical point about incentives of church going.
Yes.
The economics of church going. You know, I've got this game, Europa 1400 the Guild, and you can run a church in that, and you have to give like kind of killer sermons to make sure. You have to like make sure that you deliver consistently good sermons to keep the congregation up. So that's one of the ways you can make money in it anyway.
Instead of having the momentary pleasure of some favorite pastime, I think you would want to say that study can be work. What motivates you then? A desire for learning, a desire perhaps for good grades.
Not alone.
A belief that in life you will render a more valuable service and receive more for it.
Nod, Joan.
If you didn't hope for profit, you wouldn't study. What I'm trying to say is that the profit motive.
This guy is like doing like utilitarian takedown of church going. Now he's attacking like knowledge for its own sake.
It's very cringe.
This guy is responsible for the modern world. Now we've had like many years of this attitude, and what's it done to church and to education? Hey, Mr. Capitalist.
Is active in most human behavior. That's important to remember. And now to the third of the three great pillars in American capitalism. All right,
Wall Street.
Gary.
What's it going to be?
The open market.
Yes, the open competitive market, where anyone can offer his wares for sale at whatever price he can get, is a benefit not only to business and industry, but to the individual as well.
Just start your own Google.
Just get a group of guys. Just get a group of people together. Just to participate in that open market. It's so easy.
Just start your own FBI.
Let's go back to our toy animal illustration. Let's suppose that we develop an ability to make attractive little ceramic toys.
There's a much better than the one
he
you made.
These toys. We expand our enterprise, probably on borrowed money, and begin making profit. Another toy manufacturer, seeing our ceramic toys cutting into his sales.
Sorry, pause a second. Sorry. On the borrowed money, it's really worth checking out the founder. Just because you've seen it, haven't you? It's all about the guy who took over McDonald's.
Roy Kroc. No, I haven't seen it, but I happen to know a lot about Roy Kroc. So
right, yeah. At the start, basically, he was pitched loads of ideas, but basically manages to secure loans from different banks all at the beginning, like loads of like I think he failed like 10 times before he took over McDonald's or whatever. But again, just try securing a business loan that's unsecured these days. You have to stake your house or your car. This is what I'm saying. It's like it's really difficult to get capital. If you're a big business, they'll pour oodles of cash on you. They'll give they literally without any care whatsoever. In fact, if anything, there is too much cash flowing to those big businesses. So again, there's this dislocation in the marketplace where any potential challenger for the future has no chance of getting that investment capital from the start by themselves. They either have to go to an angel or save it themselves, obviously, or receive it from an inheritance or whatever. It's much more difficult to get like she wouldn't be able to start that ceramics business without having to put her car or house on mortgage, and we're already so indebted as a nation. Again, if you see the percentage of, credit card debt or mortgage rates per person, we've got nothing to that we have no nothing to leverage as well. Anyway,
usury is bad.
Does some research and finds that he can make an unbreakable toy very much like ours and sell it for less money than we're getting, at the same time making a profit. He can do this because we have a free, competitive...
Sorry to pause it, but I reckon Walt Disney might sue for that Bambi-looking deer. That looks a lot like Bambi, that deer.
...market in America, challenging achievement. The consumer or buyer gains when we have this constant competition in the marketplace. The best products at the lowest cost emerge. Have you ever seen one of the early automobiles manufactured in America? It was really something to behold. When it was manufactured, only a few wealthy people could own an automobile. And even for them...
Sorry to keep on pausing it, but when Lord Keynes 2 was about, I don't know what's happened. I think he was back. He came back, and I think he was banned again. But he always used to go on about relative price rigidity as a point, and I used to argue with it back and forth. But over the years of arguing with him, like he does have a point that the flexibility of prices in the actual market is nowhere near as much as this sort of thing claims, like the drive to low prices. What do you think about that, Pharaoh? Like I don't know, the price of a bottle of Coke or something. I mean, it's been much of a muchness for many, many, many years. It really shift around those prices, and there's not some other product that comes in and undercuts it. It just doesn't happen. Their contracts are such that they wouldn't let it happen, for one.
I think it does depend on the marketplace, because again, I think that FMCG market is unique because it's so habitual. I do wonder whether in certain areas the price flexibility is more important. And I'll give an example of that, and that's in the fashion sector, where think about the success of someone like Boohoo, who managed to produce through basically sweatshops clothes at a substantially cheaper price and and speed, and managed to take over high street incumbents. So again, 20 years ago, someone like the middle bottom end of the market would be someone like Next or BHS, for example, and Boohoo managed to smash that purely on their kind of flexible prices. But I think you're right on the Coke example, and then many others. But I do think it just does depend on the marketplace. Basically,
there are also certain weird products that don't. If they go down, it actually affects them badly. Women's shampoo is the typical example people use. If the price of the bottle of shampoo gets too low, there's a loss of perceived value for the customer. I.e., your wife will think that she's buying bad shampoo, so they always pay a bit more. So there's an art of pricing things higher than the market clearing point, if that makes any sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It just means that there are certain items that don't have this downwards pressure on the price. It's often markets where women are involved, to be honest. Women women bid up prices and men bid down prices.
It was likely to break down on any 10-mile trip. Today, there are more automobiles in America than there are families, and almost every family owns one. Competition, the free market, brought this about. Henry Ford was determined to outstrip other manufacturers.
Based.
Thank you, Mr. Ford.
He went after the mass market with his low-price Model T,
Based.
produced with his remarkable mass production techniques. He won the low-price market, but not for long. Others competed, and competed so well that the product continued constantly to improve. What competition in the free market has done in the production of automobiles, it has done for thousands of other things. With private ownership of property, the profit motive, and the competitive free market, American capitalism produces more wealth than the next 10 nations all combined. You and I benefit tremendously because of our great productive system, American capitalism. Our individual efforts bring us rewards higher than those realized by any people on the earth. With one day's wages, an American, for example, can buy this big supply of food.
Oh, no.
An Englishman's daily wage, by contrast, will buy only this much.
Oh.
And a Russian's just this much.
Get wrecked, Russians.
So let's remember these pillars of freedom and progress when we hear or see the socialist or the communist trying openly or secretly to undermine them. These factors can be destroyed through subversion or through our own short-sightedness or apathy in defending them.
Oh, dear.
Surely all of us can feel gratitude and pride toward American capitalism. Its record of improving human welfare is unmatched in all history. Next week, we shall examine American capitalism's widespread distribution of wealth. Until then, class dismissed.
Wow, thanks, Dr. Gayness.
The American Adventure Series is a production of the National Education Program, Searcy, Arkansas. Dr. George S. Benson, director. Dr. Clifton L. Gayness, Jr. was our instructor.
Gayness.
This is a continuing series based on the unique political and economic system which has made America great.
They love those all voice kind of quiet things in that.
It's very traditional, isn't it? Yeah, like Sacred Harp singing. Yeah,
they have it in the Disney Alice in Wonderland. In fact, all the Disney movies of the 50s have that kind of sound to them. I've always liked that sound.
You think if your last name was Gayness, you'd try and like pronounce it differently, you know, say, oh, it's Ganus, you know. But he just lent in. He's like, yeah, that's who I am. I'm Dr. Gayness.
I don't think it would have occurred to Dr. Gayness, the double meaning of his name. I don't think they said gay like that back in those days. Yeah. I'm thinking we should just do super chats.
No. We've
already got 20 minutes. Pharaoh has to go, D.
Well, no, we're watching. We're watching.
Do you want to? Do you want these ones, and I'll try and stay for as long as possible.
Yeah, Pharaoh can do. We just watch. We don't. We're supposed to be cozy. All right, watch the one called Television 1960. Yeah, which I selected especially for Pharaoh.
You country cornflakes, you country cornflakes. Oh, they won't will when you pour on milk. Oh, they won't burn.
Fucking hell, that's a big bowl of cornflakes.
No, but again, that's
look how much cornflakes are in there.
That's intentional, though. Again, you're sort of grooming people to think that's what a normal bowl of cornflakes looks like. Again, it's, you know.
Even Seinfeld wouldn't have a bowl that big.
You know, with some of the shampoo commercials where they encourage you to kind of like wash twice. It was quite a thing in the 90s. It was Head and Shoulders. So it was kind of like, yeah, like shampoo and then condition or whatever, you know, as a way of getting you to use up twice as much. You know, all of this is kind of like, you got to think that this is a nudge. You know, this is like the original nudge is the big cereal bowl.
It's big though. All right, let's carry on. Bloody hell.
This is a normal. No, this is. I choose to believe this is a normal American-sized cereal bowl.
Did you see in that kind of daily wages thing how many bottles of milk were bought? Now makes sense why they need like 5 bottles of milk.
Raw milk and based milk drinking. There you go.
Oh, they won't bunch when they are crunch. They're double toasted.
Sorry to pause it again, but I mean, do you not cover your milk? Cover your cornflakes in the milk? There was a lot of cornflakes not covered in milk in that bowl.
I don't eat breakfast cereal. I don't understand it.
It's about the shot, though, isn't it? If you often images are just totally curated and not like the reality. You know, they probably chose, if you go back to the shot from the top there, they probably chose all of the cornflakes. They removed any ones that would have looked, strange or anomalous. You know, they're all nice and uniform and crisp. So much effort has gone into that one shot. you will not believe it. But again, if imagine that was filled with milk, you're not getting the product shot, are you? So again, it's intentional.
By the way, I haven't done this to spite you, D, but the stream is now called "A Look at Capitalism." 1950.
Oh, fuck off!
Well, it's the only thing we got through.
No, we're gonna, no.
General Mills makes them just the way they should. You country cornflakes, you country cornflakes, from fields of corn, so majestically waving that they won't wilt when you pour on milk. Double toasted cornflakes made with rice. So buy our cornflakes, you country cornflakes. You country cornflakes, please buy our cornflakes. You country cornflakes, you country cornflakes, you country.
What do you make of this advert, Farrell? Is that any good?
It's fucking mental.
Well, let's should we get to the end and then or is that over?
No, it goes on for a...
What else can happen? I mean, we've seen the singing Grant Wood about 5 times now.
Keep going.
Okay.
Look, it's a pig riding an egg.
Cornflakes, they're made from corn.
Okay. I'll give my critique quickly. So obviously it's country cornflakes. So they're trying to build up this idea of the kind of wholesome fields of America. I'm imagining like the kind of Midwest, delicious cornflakes. And so you start off with the image of obviously American Gothic, the kind of famous painting, but there's a bit of subversion to it. They've got them singing a tune, and obviously this is kind of like a quite stereotypically American country song. With it, is it literally like a spring or something like that he's playing in the background? D will know. What's the boing sound?
I can't say what the name of that. There is a name for it, but it's now they call them mouth harps now, but it used to be called something else, but I can't say it on YouTube. So
okay. So again, with the kind of music, they're trying to evoke that kind of country feel, wholesome feel. You're then seeing these kind of cutesy cartoon animals. So again, often this is trying to kind of win over the kids. This is like a proto version of your Snap, Crackle and Pop, etc. These kind of cartoons, graphics. And often I think these would be placed between cartoons and stuff in the morning. So you're trying to get the kids watching the TV and then kind of pestering, the pester power. And then obviously the cartoons themselves kind of are tied back to the country feel. So I mean this is you got to see this at the 60s is the first experimenting with TV advertising. So they haven't got it all right. It's obviously way too long. The pig rolling on an egg doesn't make any sense. But again, I guess it's kind of funny because the chicken comes out. And the theme tune is very aggressive and quite loud. But this is still way more effective than think back to D reading out his advertisements on UO. They're pretty awful at this time. So this is a huge revolution. The 60s is an advertising revolution, and it's so powerful, and it changes the habits of millions of people.
I sniff a nation ripe for subversion.
Well, the thing that bothers me about this advert is that they're mixing two very incompatible aesthetics. So they've got this kind of recreation of Grant Wood's American Gothic, but then they're mixing it with this sort of very loosely drawn, stylized sort of like farmyard anime. Like I don't understand how the two. Why didn't they?
Can you roll back
animate
to some of those cartoons a second, AA? While that's up.
I mean, these are very of their time. These drawings.
Yes.
I mean, what's not to love about? Look at that smug pig on an egg.
Smug pig on an egg. And also, I like that one of the lines in the song was literally "Please buy our cornflake."
It did have like reminiscence of some of AA's advertisements where he just kind of like hits the same thing over and over again. Buy the courses.
And of course, the best part is that then they keep saying cornflake, corn, and then you actually look at it, and for some reason
Maybe
it
with
says with rice. What?
I just assumed that was like an Americanism or something. Yeah.
Do you know why I do that, by the way, Farrah? I learned it from the best. There's that director, I can't remember his name now, but he learned from Goebbels. The best propaganda, repeat it once again, repeat it
with subtlety,
simplify,
with
repeat
subtlety.
it. That's what the mid-century Germans did. Very effective propaganda. Repeat it once again.
And of course, the other thing is that the farm animals are happy. I mean, because of course it's pig and chicken and such, and they're happy that you're eating cereal grains rather than, of course, a real breakfast like bacon and eggs.
Also, there is. Do you see the guy with his gun wilting?
The wilting gun.
That's the consequences of having cereal every day. Erectile dysfunction problems. Obviously, you have been warned.
Oh God!
As a test of how effective my propaganda methods are, I bet you people can remember the past 3 promo codes.
Yeah,
Shawjan. They can do the one before that was Shat. What was the last one?
Scorchio.
No, merit. Pure merit.
And then there was Scorcher. I can't remember. I can't remember before that. But pow, Scorcher.
Pow. Yeah.
Scorcher.
I also should mention, of course, cornflakes were the invention of Mr. Kellogg, who promoted veganism because he thought it would reduce people's sexual passions. So I think the wilting gun, in conjunction with an advert,
is that exactly? Yeah. I was serious about it. Yeah.
Wow. All right, play the next one. They get even worse.
I would just like to say that was America at its worst. It was utterly charmless, that advert. Utterly charmless.
No matter what shape your stomach's in.
Words.
Hello.
Word.
No matter what shape your stomach's in, when it gets out of shape, take Alka-Seltzer.
Everybody was like, "Where are the fat people?" Then they were like, "Where are the?"
There were some fatties. Where
are the fatties?
There were fatties.
Those people would probably be considered as like grossly obese then as well, wouldn't they?
That was just like there is no, there's no like Lizzo size.
No.
Back then.
Alka-Seltzer relieves the flutters, calms the nervous feeling, relieves heartburn, relieves the stuffy feeling.
I need some right now, by the way. I'm reaching my Gaviscon as we speak.
Gaviscon.
And relieves a headache. Better than any other antacid. Better than anything you can get without a prescription. Anything. Alka-Seltzer. It's the best. On any stomach.
Okay, can we just go back there? I think what's clever about that advert is the unpersoning of the actors, basically allowing you to project onto them. So again, with a product like this, with FMCG, it's all about getting in people's heads, getting in that recall moment. So again, what they're showing us here is moments to take Alka-Seltzer or around that point, and it's showing you the type of people that should take it as well. They're targeting not just fat people, but also thin people as well. And again, it's that psychological. Like, it'd be good to have all of the copy up, but they were saying stuff like, it's good for calming the nerves. So for example, they had those kind of like go-go dancers or whatever. 60s dancers. None of those people probably actually need Alka-Seltzer because is it calcium carbonate? Is it? It's like a stomach.
It's a combination of it's like Eno. Have you ever had those?
No.
It's like it's an acid. It's like citric acid and bicarbonate, and it has
Gaviscon right now. Sorry.
And it has aspirin in it. And so when of course you put it in water, the reaction between the citric acid and the bicarbonate, it causes it to effervesce, fizz. And it's got acid. I don't know where they get this calm the nerves, because there was as far as I know, there was never anything other than those 3 ingredients in them.
But again, I think that's what's clever about the advert. They're just basically, it's not, because again, I would associate that with traditionally with either with people with like acid reflux, or do you know what I'm saying, like a heartburn, etc. But they're selling it as a product for nerves, for loads of other stuff, and then showing you the people involved. So again, they're trying to hit a very broad audience. It's trying to hit insecure people as well. So it's that combination of showing fat people and saying, you don't want to be like this person, and showing you those kind of thin women as well. Interesting how many women were coming up as well, like and also that, like there's lots of sports stuff as well. So again, it's kind of aspirational and saying, look, if you're trying to get thin and you're trying to lose some weight, you're going to be doing some exercise. You're going to want to take some Alka-Seltzer at the same time. So this is quite an effective advert, I think.
I'd like to listen into the conversation to the guy being poked. You know, I bet there's a lot of now see here, mister, why I order. All that going on.
Also, just like look at the leg to chest ratio. He's tried to hide his stomach by having exceedingly high waisted trousers, but it's fooling nobody. And in fact, if anything, it's exacerbating his stomach.
Well, to be fair, the high-waisted trousers were a kind of standard thing for everyone, but yeah, the rise has shrunk over the years.
I hate taking the liquid Gaviscon.
Don't take it.
I can't find my.
You need
tablet version. They're sold out everywhere around here. There's been a run on them over Christmas.
Prilosec. Okay.
Maybe I should get some Alka-Seltzer.
No, omeprazole. That's what you need.
Do they still sell Alka-Seltzer?
Yeah,
I want to try that.
Yeah,
I'm going to try.
As I know,
the advertising's worked. I want it.
Uh-oh.
When hay fever pollen invades your sinuses, brings runny nose, watery eyes, take Dristan. Dristan's like sending your sinuses to Arizona. Yes, Dristan's like sending your sinuses to Arizona. That is, Dristan helps you breathe free and easy.
Amazing.
As if you were far away from pollen or allergy irritation. Yes, Dristan's like sending your sinuses to Arizona.
What do you think of that?
Runny nose, itchy.
I mean, they'd have to relocalize this for the Arizona market. They'd have to be like, because otherwise it wouldn't work, would it? Or if you live in Arizona, it's no good.
I still love the pitch, again, going back to that pitch meeting, and just imagine the creators around the table speaking to the client. Okay, and it's at that moment a gigantic suitcase swallows him up, flies off into the distance, and then he lands in Arizona, cool, calm, and collected. And then the client was like, "That sounds great. That sounds amazing."
Somebody needs to appropriate this guy as their avatar. This guy's like a ready-made avatar.
Far away from pollen or allergy irritation. Yes, Dristan's like sending your sinuses to Arizona. Helps dry, runny nose, itchy, watery eyes. You see...
Oh, he's so like me. You know, people say that.
He's literally
Dristan
me.
tablets shrink swollen, congested nasal and sinus passages, which cause runny nose and watery eyes.
Shades are cool, by the way. Sunglasses are cool. That's one of the things that AAA has taught me, is that sunglasses are cool, because everybody says she looks cool with her sunglasses, and she does. Sunglasses are cool. Do you guys both agree with that?
Yes, I wear them all the time, even indoors. Yeah,
that's why Roland Rat was cool, because he wore sunglasses. That's why that dude was cool.
Indeed.
Eyes. So you breathe free and easy fast. So when pollen invades your sinuses, causing hay fever miseries, don't wish you could be in sunny...
Can we see it again? Yeah, show it again.
No, can we go back to him? I want to see him with a headache a second. Again, this should be like a reaction gif.
And easy fast. So when pollen invades your...
I just read your tweet thread. There you go.
Yeah, I'll make a gif of that.
You could do when women talking. Woman makes point, you know.
Sinuses causing hay fever miseries. Don't wish you could be in sunny, dry Arizona. Just remember, Dristan's like sending your sinuses to Arizona.
No CGI back then.
Decongestant tablets.
You know what? I want to send the nanny state to Arizona. That's all I'm saying. Pause a second. What you don't know is that these four adventurers are trying to hunt down the natural habitat of the lesser spotted lizzo. They've heard about this gigantic corpulent creature and are traveling deep into the Amazon to find such beast.
Think of the decline. I mean, I know they're parodying these men, but think of the decline from these pioneering Faustian men to the people you were the youths you were referring to at the start of the stream, Pharaoh, in their skinny jeans, or even any of us. I mean, it's an utter decline in every single way.
This is the reality of sending your sinuses to Arizona. What are they advertising?
Many people think it's quite worthwhile to go just a little bit out of their way to get certified lead-free Amoco gasoline. You expect more from American, and you get it. The American Oil Company.
That's quite good. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I thought that was quite fun, and also the tagline's really interesting. You know, you expect more from your brand. Yes. And again, it's kind of like that idea of expectation or betterment. You can't say that nowadays. Again, this is the consequences of the kind of equal society. You know, there is nothing is better than something else.
Everything levels down.
Yeah,
levels down.
Also, I'm quite surprised by lead-free petrol at this early. You know. I really thought that was an innovation of the 70s. But
suck on that, Greta Thunberg.
Please.
She likes them big, apparently.
Oh,
Peggy, look at your bridesmaid's hair. And if I shampoo with this, it'll wash the body out. Silly, don't wash out body. Cream in body with Luster Cream shampoo. Really? Luster Cream's in body. It's got more bodybuilding ingredients than any leading shampoo.
Oh,
creamy
lather.
Oh. Dreamy body. Looks like you're next.
Sorry to hinge on this tiny little detail, but was it just me or does she have an absolutely massive drink on the side? What is that? What is that? Just a massive milkshake?
It's the you've got the big cereal bowl filled with cornflakes, and then on the side you have the big milkshake on it. You know,
that is an enormous milkshake.
It's not a drink. No, I think it's what do you call it? Bath salts. It was very common to have like a container of that sort and have like Epsom salt or bath salt.
See.
Not bath salt like the drug, but like actual thing to put in your bath. Yeah. Because I have a huge collection of interior design books from the 60s, 70s, 50s, and I see there's many pictures of bath that has these glass containers with
I've never even heard of them.
Yeah.
Cream shampoo. Really? Luster Cream's in body. It's got more bodybuilding ingredients than any leading shampoo. Creamy lather. Dreamy body. Looks like you're next. Luster Cream, you've done it again.
Oh, creams in body today. That wouldn't work as a slogan.
I'm unhappy with the script there, Pharaoh, because I feel like Leicester creams in body is a very awkward phrasing. Too much repetition.
Yeah, the writing's not that tight on it. I think just in terms of their kind of core demographic, again, this is like trying to target 20-something lonely girls. All of their girlfriends are getting married, and again, it's this idea of cosmetics equals increased attractiveness and ultimately marriage. In some ways, I find the ad quite sweet and sentimental and innocent in that regard. In the fact, again, just a positive idea of, you know, you'll be next, or, you know, it's A, good to be married, and B, it's something to be achieved, is again so foreign to today's standards.
Sorry to go back to capitalism, but it's being memed already. Look on American capitalism.
Lol. Who did that? Who did that? Oh yeah.
No,
one of my nemesis. Yeah.
You're not a fan of his, but
no.
There's also this dude. Look already. He's literally.
Yeah. That's very good avatar.
Oh, I can't go out tonight with your father with this hair. And my shampoo washes the body out.
Don't wash out body, Mom. Cream in body with Luster Cream shampoo.
Too much cream.
Luster creams in body.
Creams
it
in
has more
body.
body-building ingredients than any leading shampoo.
Creamy lather.
Say cream again.
Beautiful body.
Can I just say?
No, new Luster
Can we
Cream
stop a second, sorry?
shampoo.
Go on.
I think it's interesting how they show the shampoo shots, because again, like I think that's quite risque, really. You know, like, I know for this time, surely like showing the kind of the shoulders on an advert, and again, like there's that kind of progressiveness where you see more and more of the showering process, if that makes sense today, or whatever. Where you have like someone relatively exposed. But, you know, for an older woman to kind of show off her shoulders, I don't know. Maybe I'm just...
It's all a bit Mrs. Robinson, isn't it, Farron?
Exactly.
Plastics.
And a very wise daughter.
Yes, the cream's in body.
I like the hop.
Creamy cream.
B-I-N-G-O and bingo was his name. There was a farmer had a dog, and bingo was his name. B-I-N-G-O, 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 and bingo was his name.
Kids are impressionable. That's why here at this station, we watch the programs and commercials your child watches carefully.
Dick Cabot. That's Dick Cabot.
You may see bad guys, but not in the role of heroes. And he'll learn that crime doesn't pay. Because your child's welfare is our concern, too. That's part of our code. The code of the National...
Imagine being at a time where an authority figure could say that, and you didn't automatically say, tap the sign, Aaron.
Association of Broadcasters for Television and the Greater Public Interest.
Seal of good. Again, it's just on that. I think it's so interesting how the first thing, rather than kind of like talking about violence, I think the censoring of violence is very negative against, especially boys. You know, I think there's this attempt to de-violentize young men, or like like not deal with conflict or confrontation in that kind of way. But just tied into that, the first thing they talked about was the idea of portraying a villain as a hero. I thought that was fascinating. That was the first thing. That's the headline thing. And again, that is just like such like a classical traditional viewpoint on ideas of who we are as people. You know, it's not about a specific type of action, but about like our archetypes and our place in society and who we are. You know, interestingly, I find, I don't know if anyone tuned into that Poe Frozen stream that I did. You know, that in my mind it marks the point where the villain is shown as this complicated, actually she's not really a bad person kind of character, the hero inverted.
Yeah, and Disney, funny enough, are doing a lot of they've done a deeply subversive line in rehumanizing Maleficent, rehumanizing like the evil queen. You know, these were kind of villainous archetypes, but now they're giving them complexity and depth as if it's fucking
exactly
Macbeth or something, you know.
Yeah, one of my favorite things about the Heath Ledger Joker, do you remember he would lean in and tell some people his like origin story, but like every time he did it, it was completely different because of course it was all just a lie. Maybe.
Yes.
Yeah. I thought that was quite good. Let me just throw a black pill on you about this last advert. you'll notice that what the organization was the Association of Television Broadcasters, and so what this is all these people who again, this is the late 1960s, probably, this advert. They of course were pushing all sorts of subversion further and further on people with all the programming and the changes in programming in the 60s, and people started to really notice and started to become upset about this. And so of course they say, well, what are we going to do? Let's make it an organization and pretend that we care about, we're your broadcasters. We're not pushing this stuff on your kids. We care. We're doing something about it. So again, I think the motivation of this may not have been as pure. It's like, remember those McDonald's adverts from the 70s where, obviously people were pushing back because, of course, McDonald's had greatly increased the amount of litter, thrown everywhere. And so they started to make anti-litter adverts to show that they cared. So so I would say that, again, I don't completely trust in motivations. And also, as I said, the voiceover was Dick Cavett, who was, of course, a famous he had a famous sort of interview show. And if you ever want, there's some really fascinating ones, and there are many of them are on YouTube. He would have these things where he would get like Gloria Swanson and Janis Joplin, and he would put them together, or he would put like Jimi Hendrix with Alfred Hitchcock or something like that. And famously, of course, AA, if you remember that, there's that clip of Bowie from when he was like completely out of his mind on coke.
Dick Cavett,
that was Dick Cavett interviewing him. So it's very interesting that he did the voiceover, because again, he was a bit like Walter Cronkite. He became a symbol of kind of, this is an American TV intellectual. We should trust him. So anyway,
I just wanted to very quickly mention, Dee, that the Heath Ledger Joker. Back when I used to teach Othello, I would always Samuel Taylor Coleridge, in one of the more famous bits of criticism ever produced, talked about the motive hunting of motiveless malignity when he was talking about Iago in Othello. And if you remember, in Othello, Iago's always saying, I hate the Moor, and every time he says I hate the Moor, he gives a different reason for it. Coleridge's whole point was that critics who are looking for a motive for Iago are missing the point. This is just an evil fucker who is he's just doing evil for its own sake. He doesn't have a motive, right? And the different explanations he gives are just kind of, they're neither much like the Joker's origin story. So I always wondered whether Christopher Nolan got that idea from Othello, basically.
That's a very good point. I've never thought of that association. I mean, and it's true. I mean, I of course, and Shakespeare would, he would have, certainly recognized that some people are just evil, and you can't explain it away. There is no explanation.
Yeah. I mean, it's a whole other topic, but I mentioned Macbeth. In Macbeth, of course, they get tainted by evil, and it comes to completely dominate their lives, and they can't escape it.
Yeah,
there's no redemption. There's no redemption.
Yep.
He just ends in total nihilism and death.
Yeah.
So there's a kind of, Shakespeare's view of evil in itself is quite totalizing in a way. In fact, I don't think any of his villains ever repent. Even Claudius, when he tries to, can't really do it. So
even in the comedies, I'm thinking of I can't remember his name in Much Ado About Nothing. I mean, even those villains,
Oh, he's a bastard. John.
Yeah.
That's Don John in Much Ado.
Don John, and of course he just escaped. He just runs away.
Yeah. Anyway, let's carry on.
Fled and gone.
I'll just mention really quickly one of my favorite exits of any character in any play. I call him Jacques. You can call him. Some people call him Jakes, but that character in As You Like It basically leaves because the play gets too happy, and he says, "Oh, this is way too jolly for me. I'm off. I'm gonna go and join a monastery or something," and he just kind of just leaves. He just leaves the play. One of the best exits from a Shakespeare play.
The AA archetype, yeah.
Flat tire needs a man, but
yes,
when there's no man around.
Oh, Subversion.
Is Mel Gibson going to turn up?
It's John Cleese wearing those heels.
When there's no man around, Goodyear should be. Why? Watch this.
Oh, no.
New Goodyear Double Eagle. Carries its own spare inside. Lifeguard safety spare. A tire in a tire.
That's interesting.
Keeps on going. Next time, give her a second chance.
What? So the car's essentially got 8 tires on it. You've got 2 lives for each tire. Is that right?
Yeah, that's run flat tires or something. That was very odd because the beginning of that advert is, my objections to the whole, when there's no man around and all that, but it's very sinister, because of course it is. I think it's intimating that she could be the subject of violence at any moment. Yeah.
Especially the shots were very good. The light from behind, etc. Again, it almost looks like she's fleeing from something. Like being pursued by someone with a flashlight or something.
Yeah.
It also reminded me of the first half of I'd say about 40% of every episode of the Twilight Zone starts with a woman on her own.
A woman, yeah, exactly.
I like the Goodyear. I don't know if you noticed that. A bit of nice fun font stuff.
Yeah, I love the Goodyear, the logo of the fleet foot. Yeah.
Just skip back. Sorry, just 10 seconds, AA maybe. Just like the
go.
Yeah, the go.
Next time, give her a second chance.
So that didn't take off then, because the cars don't have that now.
No, it didn't work very well because, of course, they were the tire. I think that those tires, they were too hard. I do think that many spares are are made like that, but they I think it turned out that they're just not good tires. Good use of the bongo drums though.
Very jazz. Sorry, chaps. Pause. AA, I have to go. I'm sorry.
Oh, well, there we are.
Boo.
Bye, Pharaoh. Glad you could make it.
Yeah, thanks all.
Yeah. Thanks, Pharaoh.
What do you want to do? Do you want to do super chats?
Can we watch one of the cursed, at least one of the cursed ones before we go?
What's the cursed one?
Well, there's actually several cursed ones. Like the one called the one I really want to watch is called Play Safe.
Let's have a look. How long is it?
Yeah. It's not that.
Okay.
It's not.
All right. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Okay, because I wanted to end on a cursed British safety film from the 70s. So hopefully BFI won't nuke the stream. I don't know. They seem to assert that they own every film from this era.
This
but
is Play Safe.
Play Safe.
Can I just say automatically, I love that 70s font.
Yeah, exactly. The overlaid.
I love that.
Yeah.
If I see that font, I get fuzzies, which is weird because, of course, I was not alive at any point in the 70s. It was completely before my time, but there's something about that. I've always loved the idea of other people's nostalgia. And this is like somebody else's idea of nostalgia.
Yeah, I was alive for a lot of the 70s, so I have very, very dim recollections of it. So yeah. Oh, it could have been me.
Roy of the Rovers, hey?
Oh, you have no idea how bad. You have been playing football in class. You have no idea how bad this is going to get.
Oh, not bad. I suppose most boys dream of getting to Wembley and scoring a goal in the cup final.
Jumpers for goalposts.
Jumpers for goalposts, yeah.
Me?
50 kids.
I prefer flying.
Playing football with a tennis ball.
Blimey, now they're trying to compete with us. Anything they can do, I can do better. Woo-hoo! Whoa!
Very whimsical, this bird, isn't it? You know?
I know.
Who do they think they are? Ducks? They should stick to dry land where they belong.
Ah.
Not bad skills. Not bad skills.
Yeah. Why don't I keep my big mouth shut? Anyhow, they're having a good time. That's what matters. I must say I like to see kids enjoying themselves.
You won't live long enough to see anything if you don't get off that wire.
Hey? Here, who said that?
Do you realize you're sitting on a live electric wire?
Well, so what? Can't hurt us birds.
It will if you touch the wire above it with your wings. You'll get hundreds of volts through you.
You were kidding, weren't you?
No, I wasn't. That's why I get worried when I see children playing near pylons. Or overhead power lines.
Oh, no.
Or substations.
Yeah, well, I know I'm going to play safe in future.
There. You said it.
I said what?
The golden rule. Play safe.
There's an avatar.
These are not telephone wires. They're overhead power lines carrying high voltage.
Can I just say, every once in a while, AAA has started saying things like, I'm not safe, Daddy. You need to put me more safely, and things like that. I was like, where the hell are you getting this stuff from?
Yeah, where is that
feminine influence coming in?
Oh no, Mummy. Oh,
I know. Needs more safety, Daddy. It's like, God's sake, you know, terrible. What can you do? It's like you're fighting a waterfall or something. There's no.
Yeah,
you know,
no.
It's a losing battle for the.
You can't hold it back. Yeah, I mean, she's going to show. Yeah, she's going to come in with wearing a padded helmet one day.
We should have got a helmet for a little scooter or whatever she's got.
Oh.
Without them, lots of people wouldn't have any electricity. So when you go out to enjoy yourself, play safe and make sure there are no overhead lines about.
Oh.
Watch out! Those wires are live.
It's pretty stupid to put a pole up on a wire, to be honest.
Yeah. Oh, here's Time Stealer.
Time Stealer.
Here he is. Ooh, no.
Uh-oh.
If you want to have fun and stay alive, keep away from overhead power lines. Then you know you'll be playing safe.
What about the boy with the boat?
He was lucky. The electric shock knocked him unconscious, but he was all right after a couple of days.
Was he touching a metal part of the dinghy?
It doesn't matter. Anything that's wet or got moisture on it can conduct electricity to Earth. That's why you should never fly a kite or a model plane on a control line near to overhead wires.
No.
When you fly your kite or model plane, remember you're in charge of a flying machine. Pilots have to observe safety rules.
I mean, there must have been some epidemic of this happening.
Yeah.
For this to be made in the first place. I'd have thought, D.
Yeah.
So must you.
Uh-oh.
Make sure there are no pylons.
Pretty camp running style from that little boy. Very, very camp running.
Overhead lines or electric substations around.
Go!
Uh-oh.
Control lines, even if made of string or nylon, can conduct electricity, especially when they're wet.
I want time stealer to be zapped, to be honest. Go on, little time stealer.
Watch out!
Always make sure you're in a clear area to take off. Then you'll fly safe and play safe.
You didn't say what happened to the boy.
He wasn't so lucky.
Just died.
You mean he...
He was badly burned on the arms and chest, but he didn't die.
Oh, thank goodness for that.
As I said before, never play near overhead wires. But if you ever do see your kite or plane going into them, let go before they touch.
Yeah, but things like that cost a lot of money. How do you get them back?
Whatever you do, don't try to bring them down by throwing things or poking at them with a stick or tugging on the tail or control wires. They could be live.
Men working on
The police will know what to do.
Lockout, tag out. There you go.
Place to fly a kite.
No trained electrical engineer will be stupid enough to do anything until he cut off the current and earth the wires.
Where have you
don't
gone?
Try to be cleverer than the experts.
Well, I know I'm never, ever going to perch on another live wire.
Don't forget there are live wires in substations too.
Yeah, what are these substations you keep nattering about?
This owl will be an absolute pain in the ass to hang out with. I can tell.
Can you imagine? Everyone
There are
knows
places
an
where
owl like this.
electricity comes in from the power stations and is distributed to all the houses and factories nearby. Or the
Do you think Ruber's a bit like that when he goes out? Like, you know, the helmet, the safety first, the goggles.
The goggles, the mask, the weak
equipment
lemon
here
drink.
carries thousands of volts. People don't realize that they don't even have to touch it to get a shock. Electricity can jump gaps and pass through your body to Earth.
Yeah. I love this music.
Go on, get it. We're not supposed to go in there. Oh, go on. There's a gap down there. A gang of kids broke in yesterday.
This is Birdie and Alex, obviously. Birdie,
Go on.
Go on, Alex. Go on.
I saw them. Pass me that bit of wood.
Oh.
Go on, Alex. Go and take it. You man enough to take it. You man enough to take it.
Oh,
great
music. Yeah, the music is so good. Don't do it. No.
Oh, fucking hell. Jenny!
A 66,000 volt shock killed a...
Jenny! Come on, how stupid have you got to be to try to get that? Come on.
God.
No, maybe I only think that because of this advert. Maybe it was that effective.
I don't
When you
know.
run into a substation, the electricity board warns children to keep away from substations. Never try to get toys back yourself. Otherwise, you may not live to play with them again.
tragic.
Poor boy.
It would never have happened if he'd kept out.
I want to know if you can get the soundtrack to this, because music is brilliant.
Yeah, I love music.
Really good music.
If he'd been playing somewhere safe.
Exactly. The trouble is, it isn't always the people who do stupid things who are the victims.
Come on, come on, throw it up. All right, stand back.
Stupid.
That's been really good. Let's go.
Alex and the Droogies caused that to happen. Delinquents.
Look at the utter chaos that they've unleashed.
I'm afraid your little girl was dead when they brought her to the hospital.
She'd only had the bike 2 days. It was a birthday present.
Stupid kids. I'd like to get my hands on the vandals that cut that power line.
Oh, shit.
Just don't think of the harm they can cause.
That's terrible.
That's so dark.
That's amazing.
Oh, that is really tragic. Really tragic. He doesn't even get to get away with it. He has to live with the consequences forever.
Forever that will haunt him.
I also love the slightly depressing vibe in that where they live as well. even like without the tragedy, it's slightly depressing in there. Love it.
Trying to get my claws on that boy.
He's already learnt his lesson.
Yes, but too late to bring his sister back to life.
None of these things I've been talking about would happen if people realized that electricity is a faithful servant but a dangerous master. Remember that danger signs are not put there for fun. They mean what they say.
Danger, danger.
So keep your eyes open for overhead lines or pylons. And don't fly kites or model aircraft near them either.
Thanks, dude.
And keep away from substations and any electrical equipment that is fenced in. And don't risk your own life or other people's by fooling around with electricity. When you have time to kill, make sure time doesn't kill you.
Ooh.
Then we'll see you around.
Have fun.
But keep safe.
Love again.
And then we or other people's by fooling around with electricity. When you have time to kill, make sure time doesn't kill you.
I don't like him.
I don't like him.
Don't like him.
She wouldn't like him, no. She definitely wouldn't.
Then we'll see you around.
Have fun.
But keep safe.
And play safe.
Sorry about all the deaf kids. Have fun. The Electricity Council.
Back when it was all national. Thanks, Margaret Thatcher. Bernard Cribbins was
Bernard Cribbins. I didn't recognise him.
I want to see who's the music's by. See if I can buy the soundtrack.
Will they show it?
Bradley Plummer is responsible for the sound. Maybe he did the music.
Amazing.
Oh, it was worth it, D. It was worth it.
Yeah, I knew you would like that one. Oh, they don't make them like that anymore.
Salieri says a much watched PSA. I have clicked on it. This is the one about homosexuals. So we haven't got time to do that now.
No.
Yes.
Is it Boys Beware? Yeah.
It's not Boys Beware. It's Beware of Homosexuals. it's literally just called Beware of Homosexuals. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yes, the Eunuch says the 40s capitalism video is proof that capitalism and the ideal 1950s lifestyle was the communism that Americans would accept. Capitalism and communism are each side of the same globalist shekel. Materialism leads to the destruction of culture. So Yiz laying down the Evolian smackdowns there. Okay, let me just It's some super chats. C123 says cookery stream when CDW deepest law. What's CDW? I want CDW.
Oh, is it Clarissa Dixon Wright? It must be. Yeah.
CDW deepest law.
Well, if you're an avid fan of AA's channel, you will remember that years ago, one of my first appearances on UO, I think we did a stream where we talked about cookery. I listed like favorite cookery book authors and such. So, but I'd love to do another food stream. I remember that stream we did where I was drunk and you were going over your shop. Your shop.
Was that a Christmas? I think it was a Christmas stream. I was going through the Christmas shop, wasn't I?
That was great fun. Hopefully we can do another food stream. Well, we could have had a cozy chat on my world famous Twitter Spaces, but all the mid-carders, as you say.
Too many mid-carders. So, but also I was on my phone, which made it very difficult.
You're holding your phone up your face.
Son of Hasta says, for Dee's Twitter Space last night, made for great listening on my commute. Shame about the Italian one when you had on. Could hardly hear her. So there we go. Time Stealer says, watching this while editing Railway Archive films. Well, sorry that you had to die, Time Stealer, in the making. Spasticus Autisticus says, Bobus Higgins has been pricked to death by a gang of fork-wielding maniacs. Chris Primer says, Archer Daniels Midland has invested a lot of money on bug-based foods. You will eat the bugs and be happy.
And they have. I don't know if they use it anymore, but ADM used to have a very sinister slogan, which was "Supermarket to the world."
That is pretty. Very sinister. Port Film Co-op says voiceover sounds like Eustace Mullins. Fishy Frenzy says, D, which decade of the 20th century had the best male fashion?
Ooh, that's difficult. I would probably say the 1910s. Yeah. If you're speaking 20th century, yeah, the 1910s. The 70s was the 70s and today are the worst, I would say.
I was about to say whatever one it was, it definitely was not the 70s.
No.
70s is the worst, in my view.
Really, really bad.
I kind of like some 80s, but there's bad 80s and there's good 80s.
Yeah, indeed.
They wore some very hideous baggy suits in the 80s.
Oh,
which I don't like that look, but I do like the American Psycho look, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. I also like the Miami Vice look. I like the pastel colored well cut suits with no tie. With the Tony Blair look.
What about the for worst male fashions? What about the boomer and the Hawaii shirt?
Hawaiian shirt.
Hawaiian, yeah.
Who
often around the time of the Copium Den was a former FBI agent or whatever, former intelligence agent who lives in a Hawaiian shirt and has got intel. Remember all that stuff?
Yeah. Strangely enough, if people are fans of Twin Peaks, there's a character in the original, in the original series called Dr. Jacoby, and he is literally the prototypical boomer. He wears a Hawaiian shirt, and his glasses have one lens is red and the other lens is blue, like the old 3D cinema glasses. And he's like a psychiatrist. Yeah, Dr. Jacoby.
I tell you another look I like males' fashions for the 20th century. Actually, I think it had at least two innings, and that is that long kind of beige Mac jacket that was worn. I think it was late 40s, maybe. Had a period, and then again, I think it came back in the 80s. But Bowie's wearing one in that notoriously awful Mick Jagger video.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Columbo wore one as well. Among others, I think Columbo wore one.
Columbo, not Columba. It was a Columbo.
No, not Columba. Columbo.
Oh yeah.
That's just one thing more.
Just one more thing I've noticed.
Yeah. Clear Them Out says, subversive ads. Have you seen Putney Swope by Robert Downey Sr.? Released in 1969, I think. The only black guy in the ad agency gets to run it. I have not. We'll have to look at that on some future stream. Spasticus Autisticus says, is Shylock a hero or a villain? He converts and lives. Sorry. For some reason, I was passing that as Sherlock Holmes. I was like, what are you on about? Shylock is a villain. Shylock is an ironic villain. And the attempts to save the play by various, mostly Jewish critics, it has to be said, from the charges of anti-Semitism, I think are misplaced. I think that I think Shakespeare had a very clear idea of why that character was the way he was, what he was trying to say through the play. Shakespeare was not up for capitalism, despite he was in his actual life, but in his work he was not. I'll just put it that way. So if that makes him a hypocrite, then so be it.
Philosophically opposed, but
in practice he was a massive capitalist, but in his sensibilities, let's just say, he was not.
Well, like so many of us, I would say.
The Henry Ab says Apache's 1977 was the most brutal public safety film.
Which
25 minutes of we did it, didn't we, D?
We did Apache's. Yeah.
And that's not even behind the paywall. You can go and find that in one of the better streams, actually.
He's right. I mean, Apache's is the best of those films from the 70s. There's a child literally drowns in shit in that film.
Was that the one that was blocked and we had to put on Odyssey? I think we had to cut it out and put the Apache section on Odyssey.
Yeah, you're right. I believe that was BFI. I think that they claimed it. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you go on my Odyssey channel, there's an Apache's. I think just our commentary on Apache's is on Odyssey as a Odyssey exclusive.
That's the one with Froggy watching his friends die. Yeah.
That's brilliant. That Apache's one. Machiavelli sucks to go. I mean, it's just like. Oh, it's awesome.
I was playing clips of it for Chris Gard at the end of the space last night, and
I hear Tesla made his whole neighborhood shake. Talking about Nikola Tesla, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm sure he did.
That was a claim. Yeah, I mean, I think I mentioned that before somewhere. Yeah, that Tesla claimed that he had some sort of reciprocating device that could cause the Earth to break in half. So he did make the building shake. Yeah. So he had a workshop in New York City on Houston Street, and apparently he attached this thing, and it caused the entire building to start to have sympathetic vibrations, and he had to hit it with a hammer because it was causing pandemonium. Yeah.
I'll just mention very quickly on the subject of shaking that the only PJ Harvey album that I like is called Let England Shake. So, for any PJ Harvey fans, But I'm not generally a fan, but I do like that one album of hers.
I feel like she's sort of based. I don't know where. I feel
she's probably like a Reads the Guardian and so on, but.
I don't know. No. I think I remember reading something about her being actually weirdly based. I don't know.
Really?
Anyway, yeah.
Sounds unusual.
Very unusual.
Oh yeah. Oh, here we are. PJ Harvey made comments in favor of fox hunting.
Yeah.
Based.
Yeah. There you go. I knew it.
She said, "I'm not opposed to fox hunting. Seeing the hunt out in the fields is just so natural to me."
Yes.
Get in, PJ. One of us.
Morrissey and PJ Harvey. Come on.
Morrissey and PJ Harvey. There we are. She was. She's an interesting character. She's an interesting. I mean, I'm not sure if she's deepest or worthy, but the that album, Let England Shake, it's got a few bangers on there.
Yeah,
got a few bangers.
Takes me back. That yeah, very redolent of a time.
There's a couple of weird things, really, which is that I think a lot of people were passed as being left wing in that era because of their opposition to the Iraq War. But wouldn't say opposition to the Iraq War dictates whether you're left or right, to be honest.
No.
Because, I mean, it's almost a universal thing to be against now, whether you're on the left or the right, right? So
yeah. Well, weirdly enough, I think also in the fullness of time, I am more sympathetic to anti-Thatcher people. I mean, not the obviously left-wing motivated ones, but I think there's a perfectly reactionary case against
like a Carlyle, like a Morrissey. Yeah. In retrospect, you could see Morrissey as a kind of Carlylean figure as opposed to like a lefty idiot or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
I've often thought that the this will sound a bit unusual, but the pub poetry of Mark E. Smith and the Fall is less overtly leftist and more of that kind of instinctual, there's something eroding in the nation here, and it's because of these pro-capitalist forces, if that makes any sense. As opposed to, I'm doing this because I want to bring about, socialism in Britain, or something like that.
And I think there were a lot of figures who actually, again, sort of reviewing material from that period, were, their opposition was probably, more from the Carlylean spirit rather than from the, the fucking Labour Party spirit. So.
Do you know, I watched Love Actually the other day, and which is like a love letter to Tony Blair by literally Tony Blair's best mate Richard Curtis and starring well-known Blair supporter Hugh Grant, right?
Oh,
well, I've been doing the Who Would You Do, and Liz Hurley's been kind of quite a major character in that.
Yeah.
Well, Hugh Grant and Liz Hurley went out for a while, or they were kind of seen together a lot, and Grant went off with that kind of hooker or whatever. Do you remember during the Brexit campaign that Hugh Grant was a massive Remainer? Like, he wasn't just like he actively campaigned and became like he was like a very, very vocal Remainer, as was Richard Curtis,
one of the faces of Remain.
But what I didn't realize until I did the Who Would You Do was that Liz Hurley voted for Brexit, and she came out proudly as a Brexiteer. And I wonder if she did that just to spite Hugh Grant. After all those years, I do wonder, or do you think like Liz Hurley is secretly based or whatever? But
difficult to say. Yeah,
a lot of that 90s set weirdly did vote for Brexit. The not Hugh Grant and so on, but the people who were famous in the 90s weirdly kind of drifted to our side of things. The Cool Britannia crowd, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah. Did Jennifer Saunders ever come out? Yay or nay? I don't remember.
I don't know if
I always have I always have a sneaking suspicion of Jennifer Saunders being secretly based in some weird way. Well, because if you watch some of the episodes of Absolutely Fabulous, especially the kind of 2000s series, it is rabidly anti-Blair. Like, there are so many nasty Blair, shots at Tony Blair in that.
Unfortunately, Jennifer Saunders campaigned with Hugh Grant to cancel Brexit.
Okay, yeah. So she hated Tony Blair because she was an old Labourite, probably.
I think, yes. And I just saw here that Dawn Frentz admits that she dumped an ex-boyfriend after discovering he was a Tory.
Yeah,
which I mean, but the thing is, if I discovered that I was going out with a Tory, I'd probably finish with them. but for very different reasons. For
very different reasons. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Dawn French, can she really be choosy? I don't know. Fucking miserable.
Wasn't she married to Lenny Henry?
Yeah, she was married to Lenny. I thought she still was. Maybe not.
Can you imagine being Lenny Henry and just like eking out relevance by moaning about not enough black people being on TV?
It's all they have. It's all they have. You know, you can get a second wind in your sails by
He milked being the face of comic relief for many years.
Yeah. Well, and that's all blown to bits now. So
the 2 disc says, "Is Power Safety?" narrated by Patrick Troughton. I
can't remember who the owl was, but it wasn't Patrick Troughton. No,
it was Cribbins. It said.
Well, I think the bird was Cribbins, not the owl.
Yeah, and the owl was Brian Wilde.
Yeah, who I don't know.
So there we go, and that's it for the super chat, Steve. So you can have.
What about entropy? Is that entropy as well?
Yeah, that's it. That's all it. So you can put the cucumbers on your eyes. Do you ever do that? Have you ever like done the whole cucumbers on the eyes deal?
No, I never understood it. Never understood it. Rubbing lemon halves on your elbows. Yeah.
That was always a Looney Tunes thing. Like if they wanted to show like Bugs Bunny relaxing, he'd have
relaxing
cucumbers on his eyes. And
he'd have a towel
around his hair.
Around his head. Weirdly feminine Bugs Bunny. Very odd.
He's always cross-dressing as well.
Always cross-dressing.
Never half a chance he gets in a dress. But,
very confusing signals sent to children.
All right, well, thanks for braving the lack of sleep for Deepest Law. It was great. I enjoyed it.
Indeed, and we still have many more cursed films to watch if we ever need to.
Keep them in the locker. Why not?
Oh, there's some real doozies in there.
So. I'll just remind people, sale is on. I think I'm going to give it another whirl, D, just because it's the first day, you know.
All right, go on.
Let's watch it again.
Sure.
Sure, Jan.
Can you command a comma like Joseph Conrad?
Sure.
Sure, Jan.
Are you magnificent in your mastery of marginalism like Murray Rothbard?
Sure.
Sure, Jan.
Are you legendary in your logical leveling of lamentable loquacity?
Sure.
Sure, Jan.
Come on down to the January sale at the Academic Agency. Promo code SureJan for 25% off. All this January. I got more courses than the Queen had horses.
Sure, Jan.
I got better rates than Andrew Tate's had mates.
Sure, Jan.
I got better deals than Lizzo's had meals.
Sure.
Sure, Jan.
Do you know I was channeling Michael Winner when I did that advert?
Michael Winner.
I wanted to sound as much like Michael Winner as possible. I don't know if I succeeded, but
I didn't get Michael Winner, but you know.
I don't know. I thought, you know, are you legendary in your logical leveling of lamentable loquacity? I mean, come on.
All right. Okay. Yeah. I can see it. I suppose.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Get out.
What goes on in this town is none of your business.
As long as I'm living here, it is.
Then maybe you shouldn't be living here!
Well,